This documentary was created by several Brooklyn youth in a collaboration between Global Neighborhood Productions and the Kings County District Attorney's Office. The youth are all participants in the program, Youth and Congregations in Partnership.
Stop the violence! Bury that beat! 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 Stop the violence! Stop the violence! Stop the violence! Stop the violence!
This is a situation that is prevalent only in our communities. They're not killing the children in Bensonhurst. They're not killing the children in Bay Ridge. They're not killing the children in Borough Park. And the worst thing about it is our children are killing each other. We have to do something as parents.
We need to take our children's lives back. We need to protect our children. When Nathan was killed on 127th Street, and some of the young men that they were with him, and I like to find out what they're thinking and what motivates them. I walked up to one of the young men and I asked, I said, what can we do as a mother, as a community, to make your life better? He said to me, and I want you to think about it because I had to think about it for a while. He said, Miss, you, the adults, allowed it to happen. It's too late.
Yo, it was like one hot summer day. I was coming in the building with some groceries, and then it's like this dude just came in the lobby, looked at me, looked at him, nodded my head. Then he was like, yo, what to do that? He was like outside on the bench, he came out. He was like, yo, what up? Blang, 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 blang. I'm like, oh. My reaction was, damn, was it an old lady outside? Or damn, was there a little kid running around? I'm like, damn, this elevator taking long. What happened if he try something on me? I got groceries, he probably want to feed his kid as a family too. I don't even know. Do he even got money in his pocket? How much money do I got in my pocket? Damn, this not even my money. This not even my mom's money. I'm going to the store for somebody else. How I'm gonna pay back if he decides to rob me? I'm gonna pay them back. I don't got no money in my closet. So I'm like, I was thinking about all these things, and then I'm like, what's the reason why you beefing again? What, $5?
I'm a very passionate person. When it comes to things that have affected me or my loved ones, it took me, I would say, about 18 years to go back to college to get my degrees. I always, because I raised my sons by myself, I always wanted to put in that time with them and to be there to give them whatever they needed. Andrell was a happy child, very happy. He was a child that made something out of anything. If we didn't have, for a particular reason, whether it be food, whether it be, Andrell would make something out of it. He would, just cater to everybody else's needs. I had just started a new job. I was there about a week maybe. And I got the call that Andrell had been shot. Apparently, he was walking down the hallway, himself and his friend Andre, and a young man that had an altercation with my nephew who also went to the school. He hadn't been there for a while, but he did come back to school that day. And the young man came in and, used his identification to go into school or whatever. Apparently he went back out and propped the door as he went out and came back in with the gun looking for my nephew. So when he saw Andrell and Andre, he approached them asking them, where's your cousin? And Andrell is like, I don't know where he is, whatever you have with him, keep it between y'all or whatever words were exchanged. But as he walked away, that's when the young man pulled out the gun and started shooting. And Andrell was shot in his back, and Andre was shot in his buttocks area. I jumped in a cab and went down there, and when I saw the whites of his eyes, I just was relieved that he was okay. He was coherent, everything was okay. I feel myself getting weak. I'm like, okay, it wasn't the same feeling as Martin Luther King, where with Martin Luther King, I was like, okay, I was just like, okay, mom was shot, let me get there. Not knowing all the time that even my cousin knew that my son was shot in the head as he was running. So as we're driving, I'm just like, not knowing what to think, just there, I don't even know what I was thinking about at that time. And when we get to the hospital, and I see so many of my friends, so many of my family members, I'm like, okay, is it this serious? What is going on here? So I go in the room and the mom and everything, the grandmother and everything is there, and I'm like, what's going on? We're waiting for the doctor to come back. So when the doctor comes back, he's like, oh, the mom is here, okay. Do you know what your son was doing in here? And, asking me other questions. And I'm like, excuse me, I'm here for the health of my son. All of that can be answered at another time. I'm here to see what's going on with my son. And after all of that, he says, I'm sorry, he didn't make it. So, and Andrell was like, that was like my baby. We look just alike. Andrell was me without hair. We smiled just like everything. And just to know that I couldn't touch him, feel that kiss that day, to see his little bony chest, things like that. My mind just started going back in time, from the day I brought him home from the hospital to that day that his life ended for no apparent reason.
Once you sell drugs, you have to protect yourself because somebody's gonna rob you, especially being that you're a female, so then I had to buy a gun, and then me buying a gun, so now you have a gun and people know that. So, they would try you, guys tried me. I got 85 stitches from a guy that, he said I shot him. I don't remember that, I was probably high that I don't remember that, or drunk or something. But he said I shot him one day, so he cut me.
Like the next day?
Like it was probably 2 years later. 2 years later, he cut me. I got shot 3 times when I was 19. Well, the guy that I was in love with, his best friend felt that that I was interfering with their friendship. Like the girlfriend was coming in between their brotherhood, so he wanted to eliminate me. I was sitting on a crate in front of a store, doing my usual, and it was a small courtyard behind me where my pistol was, but he came around the corner this way, and he said, I'm tired of you, I'm tired of your lies, I'm tired of your mischief, and he just pointed the gun at me, and he shot 3 times. Now I'm sitting low, so he didn't know if he hit me on my torso or he didn't know where he hit me, but I fell on the floor and he ran off. And my boyfriend at the time, his brother was driving up the street and I was laying there bleeding, and he picked me up and he drove me to Mary Immaculate Hospital, which is closed now. And they said, "How many shots did you hear?" And I said, 3. And they cut my clothes off and I was hit completely on my left side. I have metal from the bottom of my knee to the top of my thigh. It's 6 screws that go across, attaching the metal to my bone so my knee would be able to flex. I was shot here in my shin, the exit is here. I was shot point blank in my kneecap, the exit is here. And I was shot in my femoral artery, which is a main artery that goes to your heart. And that's where the doctor said that I was gonna die if I didn't make it to the hospital in time, thank God.
It's not talking about it, right? But you're here, Tiffany, you're here. You know that story. That's a beautiful part.
Yeah. It's not all glitz and glamour. It's not all glitz and glamour. You know, the guy I was dealing with was in prison at the time that this happened to me, you know. And his mother came to the hospital when I was in the recovery room after 3 surgeries. I had a full leg cast on for 6 months. And I was very, very scared. I was getting threatening calls at the hospital. And the only thing that he could say to me was, you know, you in the street, you have to charge it to the game. I'm a woman and your best friend just shot me 3 times. And that's the only consoling thing that you could say to me is charge it to the game. That made me real bitter inside. That, you know, all I wanted was revenge. And then my mother said, you know, you're just gonna become a worse monster if you just harbor revenge. It's hard, it's hard. One thing leads to another. When I say, you know, because that incident turned a whole nother situation worse, you know, because people that loved me and cared about me, whenever they even heard his name, they wanted to go there and do something to him. So it's just a chain reaction. Somebody shoots me, that person gets shot, then another person gets shot. People are just dying.
Actually, I was trying to break up a fight. And I tried to break this guy up and stop them from fighting. And the guy turned on me with a knife. And he tagged me. When the guy attacked me with a knife, you know, unfortunately I had a gun. And he threw the knife and I pulled the trigger. And he was hit, and actually he was hit in the shoulder, but the bullet traveled and lounged in his neck. And he died like 11 days later. You know, I went to trial, and what was so touching about that is because I got to see his family, you know, and his wife, she didn't even speak English, you know, and they had to have an interpreter there, you know, to interpret, you know, what was being said during the trial. And I remember his 3 daughters, you know, and he had 3 lovely little daughters, and they, you know, they looked so sad, you know, and that was a sad moment for me, and that's when I really decided to, like, you know, turn my life around, man. I didn't like what had happened. I didn't like the fact that, you know, I was going back to prison and that I had taken a life. You know, I didn't feel very good about that.
grew up basically in Flatbush, and I grew up in a home that was filled with domestic violence. My mother was a victim of domestic violence, and the first incidents of that I witnessed when I was about 5 years of age, and stayed on with me until my father finally left the household when I was 17. Well, gun violence continues to be a very, very serious problem. In 1990, when I became DA, we had 780 murders a year. Now last year, for the last 5 years, we're running around 220 murders. But the percentage of gun-related violence remains the same. About 70% of the people who are killed as a result of gunfire. So it's the one area that I have been unable to figure out the best way of dealing with it. I mean, we now have mandatory sentences in New York State for possession of loaded guns without a license. Whoever you are, you get convicted, you get 3.5 years after conviction.
I shot in my back one night when I was coming from a party.
So what was his reason for shooting you?
Huh?
What was his reason for?
Because they flipped him, and I was there. Everybody was walking in a group. I was the only one in the back. I stopped to tie my shoes lace. All I had bang, bang, bang. I thought it was fake, because it just sounded like firecrackers. And everybody, we had firecrackers, and we were throwing them. It sounded like a firecracker.
How did it change your life?
I really stayed inside more stuff, because my pops and them telling me to stay inside and stuff. It burned in tingles, that's it. I got shot with a 4.4. But not directly, I got shot at an angle. Because if it was directly, I'd have been paralyzed, or I probably would have died.
A whole hospital leadership and corporation that has put this kind of trauma front and center in our efforts to deal with it. But despite that, we do lose people, and this is a heartbreak every time.
An 8-year-old girl who was in exactly the same thing. They were having a barbecue at a park. It was a family reunion of some sorts, and they heard the shots. She made an attempt to run. Then she realized she dropped her blanket, went back to pick it up, and she got shot. We have several young men who come in, they're paraplegic, like mid-20s, late 20s, and that's it. That's it for life. They're done. So all the friends that they used to have, they used to hang out with, those that used to look bad to, don't see them anymore, they don't see those people anymore. They become a burden, and half the time they're abandoned because they have to learn to help themselves. I think young people need to see this. They need to speak to those victims.
People who are, in the slang, called frequent flyers, and they get shot or stabbed, they come back, the same thing happens. There's one article that suggested by the 4th time they come around, they have about a 100% mortality rate.
This is the body of a 23-year-old male, shot dead Friday evening. He was at a party with his friends, and he accidentally stepped on someone's sneaker. One thing led to another, 9mm was pulled out, and this gentleman was shot dead. We just picked him up from the morgue, and I'm gonna ask Tiffany here to just explain and describe a little bit of what happens next, because I know what we all see once we come to a funeral, and the person may be in the casket and they're looking wonderful, and they got on their, their Sunday finest, or they may have on their gang colors, and everyone's there and it's a big celebration. But death is not pretty, so I'm gonna ask Tiffany to describe a little bit about what we're gonna get ready to do in just a moment. Tiffany?
Well, first, we have to strip the body. That's why I chose, out of those three things, which one that I would like to do, because no one cares about your criminal history when they're dead. No one's asking you, you know, how many times you've been arrested, how many times you've been to prison when they're dead. So that was kind of like the main reason why I chose this field, because I have a criminal history, and that's really hard. I think that was one of the reasons why I kept going back to the street, is because when you do fill out an application and they ask you, have you been convicted of a felony, and then you check yes, they're not going to hire you. And then if you check no and lie, well, first we have to strip the body down, take off all the clothes, and wash the body with a disinfectant.
Yes, a lot of rigor. Wow. They could do this. You never know what's gonna happen to you. Wait, the clothes all soiled. Yeah, that's one of the things that happens when you pass. Your insides, they give way. All the muscles in your body give way. So it's not a pretty sight. All on the back. Oh, all the socks too, everything. Throw them out. In the area where I live and work, there's always someone that has gotten shot and subsequently have died. The incidents in our particular funeral home is anywhere from 5 to 7 bodies a month. We have had people that have had half their heads blown off. Some people, you know, they may put up their fingers to block the shot, but your fingers aren't gonna block a shotgun or a regular bullet. So your fingers are now blown off and the bullet has now entered into your eye. So now we have to remake eyelid, eyebrow, eyelash, part of your nose. All of these different things now go into rebuilding you so that your loved one can look at you.
One of the correctional librarians went out and met this young man, and he asked if I could come out and speak with him. And I did come out, and it was really profound to see this young man who's 21 years old. I remembered him at 16, 17 years old when I went to his school. He's serving 8 to 9 years for armed robbery. I see young people serving life sentences when I go in here every week. and it's such a huge waste of a life.
Being in prison, actually, it's like, at some points it's like being dead, man. You know, it's like, you know, it's like being a walking dead man, you know. That does something to your mind. You know, it really forces you to think abnormal. You know, you start feeling normal in an abnormal environment, and when you come outside in a normal environment, you feel out of place. You know, as if you don't fit in. It was rarely that a night would go by when I wasn't conscious of the fact that I had taken a life, and I used to always see this person's face, even in my dreams, you know, and I would have very bad dreams, you know, behind taking this person's life, because it wasn't actually my intention to take his life. It wasn't something that was planned. It's something that happened, and it happened in a second, you know? So you live with that, and you live with the stigma of being labeled as a murderer.
I grew up like any other normal kid, playing on the block, rocks, and, you know, Skelly, Cocolivio. I became a teenager. I kind of looked at life a little differently. And how I looked at it was the things that I started to do. I started to do some of the things that the adults was doing, because I thought it was cool, such as taking a little sip of the beer, cussing, kind of getting a little besides my age, acting a little too grown, too fast. And it kind of caused me to get into a little bit more trouble, such as with the law. And when I started getting in trouble with the law, wow, things really started turning for the worse. So finally one day I committed a crime. I took a life, was involved. And I was 19 at the time. And I didn't come home until 18 years later, 37 years old. I went in at 19, I didn't come out till I was 37. I don't know what your uncle told you, but when you upstate and them people tell you bend over and you have to expose your private parts, that is very degrading. You can't even vision that. But guess what? I lived that. I've been home 7 years now. I don't no longer do crime. When I see the police, I don't have to jump now. I feel good. I be ignoring them. When they stop me, I kindly pull out my ID. How you doing, officer? And, you know, that's that. Because I had enough. But life is good, but you have choices. You can either go down this road or you go down that road. And once you get down that road, ain't no turning back. So the choice is yours. So do whatever you feel.
He came downstairs to sell. Some girl called him downstairs. So we like, we go and say gonna bust a cell, whatever. And man, they started shooting mad shots from across the park. So we started running. So he ran, whatever. So we ran past his building, but he ran towards the building. And we came back. He in the middle of the, like, you know how heavy project doors is, right? He in the middle of the door with mad bullets in him. So while we walked up to the people came up to him to shot him mad, bing, bing, blank. But he like 14 years old. But he was like he had bodies on like he killed mad grown people and all this and that. He died. Yeah, he died. They came up to him, the thing was piercing his all the bullets, and then he came and shot him blank when he came up to him. I was just like, yeah, because we was walking back to him. So I'm like, oh, and I just stood there mad sharp, just looking like everybody else going. I'm just standing like, nah.
How did that affect you?
I was scared to death. I never back in Tompkins Projects again.
These young men left the burial. They had their T-shirts on that said rest in peace, whatever his name was, and sat across the street in a park all day waiting for the young man that killed their loved one. All day long. Andrell was killed at 10:35 p.m. They had all day to think about their actions. all day. Even if one of them would have thought and said, you know what, I'm out, I can't do this. All right, he's in front of the building with other people. Nah, we're not gonna shoot in front of no building. It's August 7th. Women was out there with baby carriages. They're running, shoes everywhere. The young lady that testified thought Andrell was her nephew that was just standing there. And it's like you have to make time to think about how this will affect you, how it will affect your loved ones. It's easier to uproot yourself from a situation. You may think the effect on your life will be, oh, I'm not gonna be down, or they're gonna come after me. Uproot yourself. At least you will still have life. At least you will still have the rest of your life to make decisions. Your boys, no gang leader, can't stand before you in a court of law. They're not getting in a casket with you. That decision that you're making, it may seem like you're making it for the team, but you're making that decision solely based on you. You're making it based on your family, your loved ones, the people that love you, the people that will hurt most. When you're dead and gone, when you're in jail, they'll get somebody to fill your spot. They'll have somebody that's ready to step up to the plate. So that's our youth. They have to make time to think.
That's just your everyday. I go outside, I might get killed. That's why, kids today just don't think about the consequences of what they do, because it's like, so what? No one believes that death is forever. You're not coming back. So when they're standing outside or when they're in the car and it's 3 pistols in the car, nobody has a driver's license, you aren't thinking about, going to jail for 15, 20 years. You're not thinking about that. You're just thinking about that one moment. This person did something and this is where we're going to handle that business. You're not thinking about your mother making the funeral arrangements. You're not thinking about, your father going to the ME to ID your body. When the precinct called my mother and said your daughter was shot, they never said where she was shot. They never said, is she alive? They just said, your daughter's been shot, we need you to come down here. That hurt my family. That hurts. It hurts more than just me. It's people that love me, that have nothing to do with this.
At first you're upset and you're angry and you want to get revenge and you want to become part of the statistic, basically. You want to go get a gun and do whatever, but after you sit down and you think about it and you get some proper counseling, if you got the right people in your circle, they'll let you know that, like, basically, violence begets violence, and at some point in time somebody got to be smarter and say, nah, we got to stop. Because even if you shot my brother, and whatever the case may be, me coming back to shoot you ain't gonna make it no more better. It's only gonna make the situation worse. And regardless of the fact, we still can't bring them back. So, we just gotta think. I say that if us as young people would just think more before we acted, Brooklyn would be a better place.
Gangs use weapons of violence like knives or bludgeons or guns. They will typically use guns. So it's an ancillary danger to have any kind of gang activity, because they will act out their need for having control over their turf, their neighborhoods, and they'll act out using weapons, and more often than not they use guns rather than any other kind of weapon. So that's another thing that we have to work on, and we have been working on for the last couple of years, is reversing gang activity. We have a program called Project Redirect, in which the chief of my gun bureau, or gang bureau rather, has a program that literally induces young people to get away from gangs and go into counseling with us. And the way that works is someone is charged with a serious crime. They're given an opportunity of being counseled. And if they are seriously at risk, because some gangs like Bloods will tell you that it's blood in and blood out. You have to be seriously injured, if not die, if you try and leave the gang. So we have safe houses for these young people. And it's been very successful in changing attitudes and lifestyles.
When they come out, there's a gun waiting for them. I was told by one young man upon leaving prison, he was met by his friends from the community, and he was told that he could have his choice of guns, ready to go back into what he was doing previously. So the issue of guns and gun control, I think, is a serious one.
We are so thoroughly flooded with guns that people resort to them for the most trivial of reasons. I mean, we are a nation where it's been estimated that there's almost as many guns as people. Yeah, with 300 million or so Americans, there are something like 270 million guns in circulation. That is insane. And that's the result of an out-of-control, unbridled arms industry, which keeps pumping those guns out and selling them on any grounds whatsoever. It doesn't matter whether people steal them, get automatic weapons, anything they want to use. If it explodes in your hand and it's a firearm, there's going to be somebody who sells it to you.
I guess she was a crackhead, and 4 years old crackhead out of it. So then, the man took like an AK out through the dirt. So he said, where my money? He said, I don't have it. So the man looked at me, and he pointed the AK at me, like, go ahead, young boy, keep pushing. So, I kept pushing. I came back, I see the crackhead like this, mad blood around me.
Wow. So you were witness.
How old were you?
I was like, wow.
It was very, very successful. We've had 3 of these over the time I've been district attorney. And the first one we had people turn in guns at police precincts, which, by the way, is still going on. Anybody can walk into a police precinct today with a gun, and they'll get $100, no questions asked. But we tried this aggressive approach to have people turn in guns by going to the local precincts. It was reasonably successful. We took 600 guns off the street in Brooklyn. We had people turn the guns in downstairs in our lobby. And again, it wasn't quite, I mean, it was reasonably successful. Both instances, we had about 600 guns. And then one of our very, very creative thinkers in this office, who's a ordained minister and is our clergy liaison to the religious community in Brooklyn, came up with a brilliant idea. He said, what if we had the guns turned into churches? That would be more successful. Well, that led to a total of 1,535 guns that were turned in. And every other county in Brooklyn and in Nassau County, in New York City rather, in Nassau County, had a similar program, also very successful in using the churches as the turning point.
It's time to stop this genocide. No more black on black crime. 2 million are shot. You have been shot down on the ground. Not another child. Not another day. Not another child. It's not supposed to happen this way. Put the guns away.
Not another child's goals is to actually broaden and change the mindset of our youth. I've realized that we may be able to change gun laws, we may be able to tighten gun laws, but unless the mindset of our youth is changed, we still cannot stop gun violence. With valuing life, you try to do more with your life. You realize that you only have one life to live, and you put as much into this one life that you can. You try to prosper more. You try to have more success.
My father raised me, and my father worked at night, and you know, he was gone a lot. So I mean, I was like, I grew up mostly on my own, you know, running the streets, you know, with my cousin, and that's what I got involved with gang activities at an early age, because I think that I was looking for family. I wanted to be a part of something. You know, I was a very, I was a loner as a kid. I didn't have a lot of people, you know, a lot of family around me, you know, as a kid growing up. So, like I said, I got involved with gangs and running with different gangs and stuff like that. You know, I actually grew up in prison.
I baptize you in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Ghost. Amen.
The church, therefore, has got to appeal, first and foremost, to politicians, those in position of power, to initiate laws, to bring about laws that's gonna make all of this a reality. Other than that, we can only continue to reach out to the community we serve, to the young people we serve, to instill good values in them so that they learn to respect themselves, so that they be patient. Power does not come from a gun, power comes from knowledge.
The pain that comes from one bullet, one. Just imagine you're at a barbecue and the whitest coal that's inside that grill is placed on you and you can't take it off. That's the pain of a bullet. Now, these kids are running around, you know, with guns, because they feel like they have to protect themselves. From who? I don't know, you know. I don't know what extent the war is, because that's what we call it. It's a war going on. It's not a war. The war is in your mind. The war is in your mind, number one, because you're high on weed and you're paranoid that everybody is after you and nobody is even thinking about you. You know, as much energy as you're coming up with, smoking your blunt, oh yeah, I gotta go get him. I can't believe he said that. I can't believe she did that. Is the same energy that you could go and confront your brother, because that's what we're supposed to do. Is there conflict between us? And let's resolve that with words. Let's resolve that with forgiveness. Let's resolve that with a little bit of understanding, because killing each other is not gonna help. It's not. No one else is doing this but us. No one else. Why? Now, everybody's not going to get along, because that's just how life goes. But let's just have a medium, because that's somebody's brother, that's somebody's sister. Somebody else loves that person. If you don't like them, somebody else loves them, and let it go. Let it go.
At the Sanderson, he had one family member there, an uncle, that cried on my shoulder afterwards and told me, "Miss, we did not raise him like this. I don't know where it went wrong." He blamed himself because he had been out of his life for so long. And it was just like, and I'm standing there as my other family members are looking at me like, don't be hugging him, you know. But it's hard for us all. The 15-year-old may be a little bit more workable. I mean, who knows? Maybe one day he could speak for not another child. It would be hard, but it would be necessary.
You only have one life. Death is final. Death is final. You can't come back. And although the funeral service may look glorified and, you know, people are there crying over you, and you have, you know, your boys and your girls have come and put all kind of pictures in there in the casket, and there's, you know, your gang colors, your bottle of Hennessy, your dice, money inside the casket, and there's one big old party afterward. After that, that's it. I'm just pleading to you all to just stop and think before you make the wrong decision. It's very important. I can't stress it enough to you.
Sometimes I want to close my eyes.
Just thinking about life and how to take it. Everyday step, you just gotta survive and everything. That's all. Don't let anything get down to you. You just rise above everything and see yourself as #1 and try to make every competition that's set towards you as you're trying to win it, and don't be a loser.
Stay in school, you know, always wake up with something positive on your mind. If you have free time, don't be idle. Just, you know, find an activity to get into. There's always activities at schools, you know, programs you could do, you know, but just stay focused, be in school, you know. They have people, your parents do, you know, support you and love you, so just try to make them proud, you know.
I want to raise a family, you know, and I want to be there for my family. You know, I don't want to be incarcerated or, you know, back in the islands or whatever. I just want to see my kids grow.
I already have 2 degrees, and I'll be starting in law school for my 3rd degree. So it's my my dream to continue to be of use in any way I can to communities that need help.
My goal, of course, is to be successful and to get a good job, support my family and everything. All they want to do is support their family and stuff too, but they're doing it in the wrong way. They want to do it the easy way, the fast way. And the way I want to do it, it may be the slow way, but it's better off in the long run.
I want to be a special education teacher so I can help kids with special needs, and I'll have a big effect on my community.
My major is psychology, but I'm also doing pre-med prerequisites. So I hope to go to medical school soon, in about a year or 2.
I would like to be a judge. I'm not really too sure how far, as far as if I want to do Supreme Court or anything just yet, but I do want to be a judge. I know I have to be a lawyer first for a couple years, but then that's what I really want to do.
I'd like to be a district attorney.
There's got to be a brighter day. Don't get better, better. You gotta remember, it's gonna be the summer, springtime, and a winter. Every December, you gotta be heavy, child. Steady now, ready for the season's shine. So pick your head up, child. Wipe the tears away, it's gonna be a better day. There's got to be a brighter day. Even if today didn't go your way, you gotta remember, it's gonna be the summer, springtime, and a winter. Every December, you gotta be heavy, child. Steady now, ready for the season's shine. So pick your head up, child. Wipe the tears away, it's gonna be a better shine. There's got to be a brighter day. Even if today you gotta remember, it's gonna be the summer, springtime. Gotta believe it's for your good. I know you would see it if you could. You gotta be ready for the change. Sometimes you just gotta keep going. No matter what it looks like, you gotta keep going. Even when you feel just like you can't move. No matter what it looks like, you gotta keep going on. Sometimes you just gotta keep going, no matter what it looks like. You gotta keep going. I know it ain't gonna be easy, but just you gotta keep going on. Sometimes I wanna close my eyes and close my eyes and scream, yeah. Sometimes I wanna leave this world alone and just live in my dream. Sometimes I wanna fly away, take a ride away, and I'll just be happy. But I just can't go till I know it's time for me. But I know sometimes you just gotta keep